Head over to patreon.com/MWilliamPhelps and sign up for my free content page, where I'll be interacting with you, doing live streams, posting exclusive content, sending out newsletters, and dropping a major limited series podcast exclusively for Patreon members later this year. That's patreon.com/MWilliamPhelps. patreon.com/MWilliamPhelps. You're 11 years old, startled awake by the sound of broken glass and screaming. Too afraid to get up, frozen in fear, you look out the window, see two men, and decide to wait it out. 45 minutes later, you open the door and walk slowly into the living room and realize the walls are covered in blood. My name is M. William Phelps. I'm an investigative journalist and the true crime author of close to 50 books. I've dedicated the past 20 years of my life to helping families of the missing and murdered. Join me. We're crossing the line. I think after 3 years of doing this show, 120-something episodes now, I think we can call that theme music iconic. I think it's great. My brother, Thomas Phelps, and his songwriting partner, Thomas Mooney, are responsible for creating that. By the way, shout out to them. Let's get started here with the case. Medford, Oregon is an interesting place. In the latest census data from 2020, 85,000 people call Medford home. Situated in the southwestern portion of the state, like many major cities across the West, and I have to admit, a Western buff, construction of the railroad played a major role in founding the city and putting it, so to speak, on the map. By and large, the Pacific Northwest has always been a fairly safe area of the country to live. Yet, in recent years, there has been what officials have called a concerning level of crime in Medford specifically, which slightly surpasses the national average, which no civic leader wants to ever see or hear. What this translates to is that Medford residents are more likely to fall victim to violent crime, such as assault and murder, than they are in most other major cities, according to a general calculation based on the national average. I'm not dissing Medford, just giving you the stats. And I give those stats because they make this case I have for you this week all that much more alarming, something I think you'll understand better as we move forward. Like any father with young daughters, 50-year-old Ellen Friar grew increasingly concerned when he found out his 15-year-old daughter, Ellen, or Ellie, as she is called, had been hanging out with a local Medford 19-year-old adult, Gavin MacFarlane. So much so, Aaron spoke to Ellie and explained that she was no longer going to be continuing a romantic relationship with MacFarlane, which immediately turns this affair into a kind of forbidden love. And as most of us know, all teens have a bit of rebellion in them. Ellie is a gifted student, making excellent grades in school, has plenty of friends, and not getting into any trouble. She loves being part of the school marching band and doing other activities any active student her age might. Aaron knew that once this man, Gavin, got his hooks into her, all of that would change. 4 years difference in age for a 30 and 26-year-old dating means nothing. Yet Ellie is a minor child, still trying to understand and find her way in the world. A young man of Gavin MacFarlane's age could easily influence and manipulate her. And if she had, by chance, become infatuated and fallen into that first big love with him, he would be able to say and do anything he wanted, and she'd go along. That's not a judgment. It's a basic fact any adult understands can happen to a young kid at any time. A girl that young falling in love, a word I am putting in quotes, is susceptible to her feelings and emotion overruling logical thinking, resolution, and controlling her impulses. Even Gavin MacFarlane, at his age, understood this. As September 2017 came around, Aaron could see that the bad influence he feared a guy of MacFarlane's age and general demeanor could have on his minor child was beginning to have an effect on Ellie. MacFarlane's sort of an outcast type, not going anywhere in life, not doing anything to plan for his future. So once again, Aaron put his foot down. After explaining to Ellie on that day she will not see MacFarlane again, Aaron leaves the house. He drives over to MacFarlane's, and several public reports claim threatens him. Stop seeing my daughter, or else. After that confrontation, Gavin MacFarlane calls into police and reports that Aaron threatened to kill him. There is no evidence of this other than MacFarlane's word. So who knows what he said? Ellie continues to date MacFarlane, despite what her father and even her mother keep telling her. And this is what I'm talking about. A 15-year-old has a hard time weighing logic against emotion and making the best decision for herself. She's going to listen to a 19-year-old she is infatuated with before the two adults who raised her and took care of her. In several interviews I've seen, friends describe Ellie as quiet, friendly, standoffish, even a bit docile. She wasn't one of those kids who gravitated toward trouble or troubled kids even. In contrast, friends said she would rather walk away from it. Before meeting MacFarlane, Ellie had this innocent, very young teen look about her. Brown eyes, freckled skin, auburn, very straight hair. And she came across more like a 12-year-old. After meeting him, she begins to change her look. Different color hair, different clothes, very different attitude. Ellen Friar isn't having it. No way some 19-year-old man is going to walk into Ellie's life and change it forever. What father wouldn't want to protect his child? Aaron and Ellie's mother, Maggie, had split up 3 years earlier in 2014, remained friends, and lived close to each other. As far as I could tell, it wasn't a bitter breakup. Things happen, people grow apart, families splinter. Aaron and Maggie are doing their best to co-parent Ellie and her two younger sisters during what is a difficult period enough already for children in general, this young, in the face of divorce. As October 2nd, 2017 in Medford dawns, it is set to be a typical Oregon fall day. Temps from 60 to 65, windy, cloudy, and maybe a few breaks of sunshine. Ellie's little sister, 11-year-old Sierra, is in bed sleeping. In the same room is Ellie and Sierra's other sister, who is just 8 years old. It's near 5:25 a.m. when Sierra wakes up to what she figures out is somebody yelling. Opening her eyes, acclimating herself to being startled awake, Sierra realizes that yes, someone is screaming. She's not dreaming or hearing things. Then she hears glass breaking. It's now about 5:30 in the morning. As any 11-year-old would be, Sierra is terrified, not only for herself but her little sister. Something is going on inside the house, and whatever is happening sounds extremely violent. Sierra decides the best thing to do is to stay put inside her room. Aaron and the kids live on Benson Street in Medford. It's your typical suburban neighborhood of modest, one-story ranch-style homes set close together. Little Sierra, scared, not knowing what is going on, begins thinking the worst. Could some sort of home invasion type of crime be unfolding, and her dad is engaged in a struggle with the attacker? Sierra then hears her father utter the F word very loudly. Then it appears as if something is being dragged. Furniture is being moved around. That's what she is thinking. She has no idea what is going on. At some point, however, the house goes oddly and eerily silent. Sierra then takes a look out of her bedroom window. She sees two men, one of whom she recognizes. The other, she doesn't. They are, she later tells CBS News, walking back and forth, pacing outside. One of the men is Gavin MacFarlane, Sierra realizes, Ellie's boyfriend. Weird. What's he doing at the house? Number one, where he is definitely forbidden, and two, why is he here at the break of dawn? After about 40 minutes, with things creepily quiet now in the house, Sierra decides to walk out of her room and check things out. Slowly, coming into the hallway, Sierra reaches the living room. It's dark, so she finds a switch and flicks on the lights. Putting a hand on the couch, she realizes it's saturated with blood. There is also blood spatter droplets all over the walls. It's as if someone dipped the fountain pen in red ink and flicked it all over the place. Also, one of the light fixtures in the living room hanging from the ceiling is smashed to bits on the floor. Sierra grabs her little sister and makes it to her mother's house just a few blocks down the road. She tells her mother what happened and what she heard and what she saw. Maggie Friar calls 911 right away. One of the few facts Sierra is certain of is that Ellie, her sister, and Aaron, her father, are not in the house. Both are gone. And also that she saw two men pacing outside. She is certain one of the men was Gavin MacFarlane, a guy who Sierra later tells CBS News that, according to Ellie, is Ellie's first big love. There it is. A welfare check might be one of the most popular 911 calls into police departments at all hours of the day and night. Cops are used to it. Worried family members and friends calling in because they haven't seen or heard from someone they should have. A Medford patrol officer arrives at the Friar's house at about 6:45. By now, a missing persons case has been opened as an adult and child are nowhere to be found, with blood reportedly all over the living room inside the house where both were last seen. So this is not your typical welfare check. As the officer gets out of his vehicle and another cop arrives, they first see what looks to be blood droplets on the cement just outside the front door of the house, leading toward the back gate. It's more of a trail of blood drops along the driveway, but at a certain point, they come to a complete stop and disappear. Near the patch of cement where the blood droplets stop, there are tire tracks. I have an interesting side note. In one case I wrote about, a book called Cruel Death, the horrific, gruesome story of Erica and Benjamin Sifrit, a Navy SEAL and his wife convicted of murdering and dismembering a married couple. A detective I interviewed explained to me how keen-eyed investigators can pick up things when they first arrive to a scene. The murdered couple in the cruel death case had been missing for about a week. When this investigator found their vehicle, he noticed right away that there was sand. The crime took place near the ocean, on both sides of the tires on the ground, which told him the vehicle had not been driven or moved in quite a while. It's noticing small details like this that can make the difference and kickstart that intuitive process every good investigator relies on. They think differently. They notice minor clues nobody else does, and most of us take for granted. Here, in Medford, both officers sense an immediacy, and so they brandish their weapons and head into the house. One look inside the living room tells them there was a violent struggle that had drawn lots of blood, and 2 people are now missing, Ellie and her dad. There is a timely manner now placed on the case, based on the evidence left behind. The Medford police call in the Major Assault and Death Investigative Unit. They are now viewing this as a crime scene and working under the premise that it's possible death has occurred. Detectives arrive next and begin to piece together what happened and what will be their next steps. Of course, a bolo, be on the lookout, is activated, and some 70 cops all over the city are now searching for Ellie and her father. As that is going on, investigators back at the station speak with Sierra and ask her to try to recall anything and everything she can. These are incredibly important moments for investigators. Real time, in the present, getting witnesses and others to talk about what has transpired. The best information of a case can be vetted during this crucial time period. For those witnesses and others involved, however, things can be a fuzzy blur of trying to think through what is happening in your life, what you've seen, and how you feel about it. For a child, all of this is magnified. You are exhausted from the stress, agitated, numb, confused, sad. An intense wave of feelings and emotions wash over you. Sierra was, of course, very young when her parents divorced, and regardless whether her parents get along now, a divorce can wreak havoc on children. I think we are all aware of this. Just the previous month, that September, Sierra made the decision to live with her father full-time instead of going over there every other weekend. Both her sisters did the same. When investigators have a chance to speak with Sierra that morning in October, after her sister and father go missing, she tells them what she saw outside. I was looking out the window, she says, noting it was during that time when she had been holed up in the room, scared to emerge. I saw Ellie's boyfriend, Gavin, outside. He's not allowed at her house. She then mentions Gavin MacFarlane was with another man she did not recognize. Investigators understand now, without saying anything, this is a big lead. They need to find this guy, Gavin MacFarlane. Quick. Let's take a break here, come back, and continue. Medford, Oregon investigators immediately put a track on Gavin MacFarlane's phone, the adult man who has been dating a 15-year-old child. 18 years old is the age of consent in the state of Oregon for any sexual activity. So let's just be clear. Statutory rape refers to having sex with an individual below the age of consent, which, as I said, is 18 years. This law applies regardless of whether the minor consents to the activity or even initiates it. And if the crime involves someone under the age of 16, which Ellie is, it is considered a second-degree rape, With a conviction, that crime can lead to 10 years in prison. The first major discovery is Ellen Friar's missing vehicle, which is located 5 miles to the east of where he lives. As officers come up onto the vehicle and begin searching it for any sign of Ellen and Ellie, they see right away there's nobody inside the car. One officer places his hand on the hood of the car and notices it's warm to the touch. So the car had been driven to this location very recently. Then they go around to the back. First thing they see is dried blood, which has run down the bumper from above near the latch you'd use to pop the trunk open. They open that trunk, I would expect, completely prepared to find a body. But there's nothing inside. The carpet, however, inside the trunk is saturated with fresh, wet blood. About an hour later, near 11 a.m., a report comes in that Ellie has been spotted. She's apparently okay and walking along the road about 2.5 miles from the Friar family home. And she's with her adult boyfriend, Gavin MacFarlane, and another man. Investigators have no idea who this other man is, but suspect it is the same man Sierra likely saw with MacFarlane outside the family home earlier. MacFarlane is quite a bit taller than Ellie. He's scrawny and wears dark frame glasses, bright blonde hair, and at times, he dyes it with streaks of green. Ellie is wearing a blue blouse with ruffled blue straps. Her hair, sometimes dyed blonde, is black. MacFarlane is dressed in a black shirt with white stripes. The other dude, it turns out, is 22-year-old Russell Jones, a sort of doughy-looking short man with straight, dirty blonde hair, almost cut like someone placed a bowl over his head and had a go of it. Jones is wearing a black tank top. Immediately, all three are handcuffed and taken into the station house. Investigators are not going to play games and ask questions there on the street. It appears that the threesome knows something. In these situations, any solid cop will tell you, you separate them, get them into the chair in a nondescript room, and provoke them to talk. Generally, you will get the truth out of the three, if only by the process of weeding out what each says and matching it up against the known facts. Right now, they have a witness, Ellie's sister, claiming MacFarlane was outside the house. Ellie and Ellen Friar were home and then gone. Blood has been found all over the inside of the house and now in the trunk of the car and on the back bumper. But Ellie has been located and she is fine. No injuries, which means what? Where is Ellen Friar? Lead detective Bill Ford takes on the task of interviewing Russell Jones. And right away, Ford realizes Jones likes to talk. He might not make much sense and speaks glibly and sarcastically, and I'll even say stupidly, but he is talking. And that is what you want. Sooner or later, he will say something that piques your interest or points to some sort of explanation as to what in the hell is actually going on here. I have nothing to hide, Jones tells Detective Ford. And I do talk better when I have a cigarette. Jones is kind of acting strange and is obviously touched by a degree of immaturity. And I'll say here, he even likes to talk when no one else is in the room. Leaving him alone at one point by himself sitting at a table, investigators look on from another room and listen.
We can do this the nice way, or we can do it the hard way and I can release my bipolar. Let's make a deal. Do-do-do-do. To her parents, or parent. And I know I'm being recorded. You can keep that on there. Unless you're a nice cop, then I take it back. But if you're one of those two-timing, donut-eating piece of crap that don't like rules, a high school bully with a badge, I'm sorry, buddy, but I eat high school bullies.
So you see what I'm talking about with Jones. Bill Ford allows Jones to have a cigarette outside before they go back in to sit and chat some more. During their conversation outside, Jones changes the gravity of the case considerably. He says, "Me and MacFarlane went over to the Friar's house early this morning. We were trying to get Ellie out of a bad situation. He's not a good person." "Who are you talking about?" Ford asks. "The dad, Ellen Friar." "So you go over there to..." And Jones interrupts. "We were there to move Ellie out of the house." Detective Ford explains that they have a squad of investigators going through video all over town and in the neighborhood, and if Jones is lying, they will find out. So Jones responds, 95% of what I am saying is true. 5% is a lie. The sarcastic, kind of cocky nature of what Jones says. He thinks he's a badass, I guess. Ford understands who he's dealing with. So he tells Jones, look, wherever Aaron is, we don't want a child to come across his body. And as he is speaking, the words coming out of his mouth, Jones blurts out this: "I can take you to the location where Aaron's remains were dumped." So within 5 hours of this case unraveling, they have 3 suspects. Yes, they now consider Ellie, Aaron's daughter, a suspect in her father's murder and will soon have Ellen Friar's remains. Let's take our final break here and come back. This gets interesting because we have 3 people involved, and each will now tell his or her version of one undeniable truth: that a young girl was no victim, but had instead become involved in her father's murder and may have masterminded the entire crime. Back in 1 minute. Little Russell Jones and Detective Ford take a road trip that afternoon and wind up about 20 miles from the Friar residence in a very rural, mountainous area far off the main road. Jones guides the detective through some brush, fallen down trees, and tall grass. He takes him directly to a place in a wooded area where, he says, they will find Ellen Friar's body. As they begin looking around, they see a green tarp in the distance, and Jones says, "There you go. That's the place." The exact location is situated just down the slope of a hill, but out in the open. There's a dead tree nearby, leaning on another tree, which has one of those black and orange lettered posted, no trespassing signs tacked to it. When they walk over and pull the tarp back a bit, there he is. Ellen Friar. He has been beaten so savagely, it is hard to make out his face. As they are searching the general area around where Ellen Friar's body has been dumped, an investigator spots something in a tree, maybe 10 feet up off the ground. Walking over to get a better look, it appears to be an aluminum baseball bat. No doubt, the murder weapon. Russell Jones is the first to begin laying out a murder narrative. He says that his friend, Gavin MacFarlane, had been conjured into doing it, and that all he, Jones that is guilty of is helping to dispose of Aaron's body. Jones says he did not participate in the murder. MacFarlane, he claims, acted in self-defense after Ellen Friar attacked him. So I guess he didn't participate, but Jones was, what, there watching it all? In another interview room, Ellie has an issue even speaking to law enforcement. The female investigator asks Ellie what her name is. At first, she balks, wishing to, as she says, remain silent. But then says her name is Rain. After a bit of time, Ellie does finally speak, and she explains that Russell Jones murdered her father with that baseball bat. In yet another interview room, Gavin MacFarlane tells police that it was Ellie who asked him to kill her father for her. Why is, of course, the obvious question. Why would a 15-year-old girl want her father murdered? As Ellie lays out her version, she says several things that, when compared to the evidence, do not add up. My parents are very controlling. My dad is very abusive, verbally, emotionally. And a few times when I did something that he didn't like, he would grab me right by the throat and he'd pin me against the wall, she tells an investigator in a recorded interview. I think you should understand here that there is zero evidence of any abuse taking place by Ellen Friar, like Ellie explains. Continuing, Ellie says on that morning, she had plans to run away with Gavin MacFarlane. So she waited in the living room for him and Russell Jones to show up. When they got there, she saw that Jones had a machete with him and that he went after her father, Aaron, with the large knife-like weapon. Aaron was sleeping at the time, she claims. I guess my dad woke up as Russell attacked. As soon as I heard screaming, I ran. But why would Russell Jones kill Ellen Friar, a man he does not even know? So we, Ellie says, meaning herself and MacFarlane, could run off together. So Russell Jones kills Ellen Friar so Gavin MacFarlane and Ellie can run off together? Ellen Friar was against the relationship and demanded that Ellie never see that man again. But that is not what Ellie wanted, according to MacFarlane. She wanted to be with him. And if it meant having her own father murdered, so be it. Gavin used a baseball bat to beat him, Russell Jones tells investigators. He goes into the living room, beats the crap out of the guy. I walk through the front door, and the first thing I see is a dead body. They discuss the baseball bat next. Ellen threw it into the tree, Jones says. After interviewing Jones, investigators sit down again with Gavin MacFarlane. They bring Jones's version to him and ask him to explain. And he admits it was him, that he killed Ellen Friar with the baseball bat. I was just trying to protect Ellie, MacFarlane says. He goes on to explain that the murder was like a negative emotion brewing in him for weeks. Ellie had said she was pregnant, and so they wanted to be together. She was also telling MacFarlane, he claims, that during this time, Ellie wouldn't stop talking about her father abusing her. And so as MacFarlane describes it, an intense anger began bubbling day after day. The fact that he believed Aaron was hitting Ellie and that she was pregnant all came to a boiling point on that morning. Quote, "That's what set me off," he says. The anger had been building because of things that Ellie had been telling me. In his interrogation video, Gavin MacFarlane stands and begins acting out how he hit Ellen Friar over and over with the baseball bat. She told me, he says, go out into the front room, take him out, and text me and let me know when it's done. Imagine, text me and let me know when it's done. The murder of her own father. Ellie was never pregnant, of course. That was all part of a sordid plan to ignite a violent fire inside MacFarlane and pump him up enough to kill her father. Gavin MacFarlane ultimately does not want to take his case into court and pleads to murder. He is sentenced to life in prison where he belongs forever, but will likely, based on his age, sit in front of a parole board when he is still young, 45 years old. Russell Jones pleads as well to conspiracy to commit murder and gets 15 years. He will be a free man even sooner than MacFarlane. For her role in it all, Ellen Ellie Friar gets 25 years for conspiracy to commit murder. She should be out of prison before she is 40 years old when she goes in front of a parole board in the year 2041. At the time of the murder, Aaron's other daughters are 8 and 11 years old. I can't fathom how they process that their older sibling, the one they should be looking up to, is in prison for their father's murder. It's kind of surreal when you think about it in that way. But there is a sense to me that in today's world, some people go directly to violence to solve their problems and deal with uncomfortable emotions. We see these types of crimes more and more today. And there is an answer in there somewhere. I just don't think there are experts out there looking into it and trying to understand why this happens. And we should be. Because understanding why is the first step to getting to these kids before they make the choice of death over forgiveness and life. That will do it for this week. Be back here next week with another case. And remember, be safe, be aware. Sources for this episode include the police interrogations and transcripts of Ellie Friar, Russell Jones, and Gavin MacFarlane. Was an Oregon 15-year-old the mastermind behind her father's murder? By Natalie Morales, Richard Fetzer, and Lauren White, CBS News, April 20th, 2025. 15-year-old plots father's cold, calculated murder and convinces boyfriend to carry it out. By Caitlin Shunn, NBC News, March 3rd, 2024. Teenage girl who helped murder her father is jailed. By Rod Artahally, Daily Mail, April 3rd, 2019. Crossing the Line is executive produced by M. William Phelps, LLC, and Matthew Valentinas, Mom's Basement Management. Written by me, M. William Phelps. Audio mastering and mixing by Matt Russell. Music by Epidemic Sound. Original music written and performed by Thomas Mooney, Tom Phelps, and Matt Russell.